program, and it said Eileen was reading. And I don't see her. Apparently she's not good at multitasking because she's with the kids. So that may have been obviously an oversight on her part. So let's read together. I am her husband. We are one. My name isn't Eileen though. So the word fear. What is the real definition? What's the definition of fear? The definition of fear is an impending danger. An impending danger. If you want to take it a step further, a word that's synonymous with fear is to forebode or to dwell on things negatively. Amen. I don't know about you, but that has happened in my life. I've had things in my life where they at the time seemed challenging, and you know, we all do it. We create monsters under the bed as children, and that never really changes. The monsters just become other things, like I'm going to get laid off, or you know, I have to raise kids now, and I don't know what to do. Wednesday was helping a lady, very, very interesting. It was helping a lady with some medical stuff, and her insurance had got changed, and there was this whole story created about her situation, and she was just so upset, and she asked if I would just be there. I don't know what I was going to do, but I was just there with 2 lawyers and a judge, and I'm thinking, they were talking like Japanese for us all. I could not understand a word they were saying. I'm pretty sure it was English. But they were going, and it come to find out that we realized through all of this that her bill had only gone up about $10 or $13. It was always high. And in all this, I mean, we spent 4 hours in a room with lawyers. And if you're a lawyer, I don't mean to be offensive, but that's a long time to be with a lawyer. So, especially if you're not on the side you want to be on. If your side's losing, hey man, after a while, they were convincing me, like, you know what, you're right, you don't need insurance. And I'm thinking, wait, I can't think that way. You need insurance. But you know, I have recognized, and of course you have recognized in your life, most fears we create on our own. Most fears, most things that we perceive to be challenges, we have created on our own. As a matter of fact, most of the things we fear, psychologists, sociologists, psychiatrists tell us, never really even happen. Because sometimes that's just the way we're wired. And if things have emotionally attached themselves, or in a negative way, emotionally attached themselves, sometimes we use those things to pause our lives. It keeps us from challenging ourselves, from doing things that we really wanted to do in life. We tell our children, we tell them, you can do anything you put your mind to. John F. Kennedy, the late president, said that the mind is a terrible thing to waste. Let's just get this straight here this morning. The Spirit of God is without control. Jesus told Nicodemus in John chapter 3 that the Spirit, like the wind, bloweth where it wills. Amen. God does what He chooses, or what He pleases. Amen. No one tells God what to do. He comes and goes as He pleases. This is a spiritual kingdom. We were reminded last week as Jesus stood before Pilate and he asked him, "Are you a king?" And Jesus says, "Yes." And he says, "Well, where's your kingdom?" And he said, "My kingdom is not of this world." We cannot forget as Christians, you cannot forget as the people of God, that God's work is a spiritual work. It'll always be contrary to my logical mind. It'll always be contrary to the things that I perceive with my natural eye. But if we're not careful, we can try to build a spiritual kingdom with earthly techniques. Paul told the Galatians, he said, who's tricked you? Who has beguiled you? What you started in the Spirit, you now have continued in the flesh. Amen. This is a spiritual work. Part of a spiritual work is finding yourself in prayer. You need to find time, take time, not just I lay me down to sleep or around when you're eating food. There needs to be time in your life where you're connecting with God. Man, I was reminded this morning, sometimes, all the time, the things of the Spirit work opposite. Naturally we see things and we believe. Oh, I seen it happen. Believe it. I just didn't read it on Facebook. It's real. I saw it happen. Right? Amen. Don't believe everything you read on Facebook, said Abraham Lincoln, right? We celebrate the salvation of the Lord. Amen. But a salvation, the way God sees salvation is being saved unto something, not from something. God's salvation is not limited to just my past. But God said, I called you out of darkness into the marvelous light. We get stuck from where God called us. We get stuck from what God had done for us. And the greater miracle is what God has for us. The greater miracle is what God has for me in my life. Right. But I don't know how that's always going to look. I don't know. I'm going to have to do this thing that the Bible calls faith. I'm just going to have to trust God that He knows. I'm just going to have to believe that God understands my frame. And I'm going to mess up and I'm dust. And still, with all of that, His mind is still filled with Michael Gonzales. I believe that with all my heart. God's filled with thoughts of me. God's filled with thoughts of you because His Word says so. But you've got to have more. You've got to have a desire